Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz from Sassy's LLC here on YouTube. And last video we made this perfume bottle gift box with a gold fill shaker. And then off camera I made two more coordinating perfume bottles in that deep navy because today we are going to make a case for all three perfume bottles. One of the dividers on the inside is optional, so you can do a perfume bottle on one side and a gift on the other. I love it so much. This die set is huge. There are 3 full sheets of dies. Maybe screenshot this because it shows you exactly how many of each die to cut out. To get started, I have taken the die from Perfume Case B and cut it from some dark navy cardstock in 100-pound cardstock. I have flipped it over and I am folding as valley folds towards the back. So it's creating score lines on the front and then I will fold them back. And so this is going to be our case. I have cut this piece twice from some white glitter cardstock. Now, I watched Sandra, the owner of Pixi Dust, put this together and use wet glue for the whole thing. And I did too the first time I made it out of just cardstock. But I'm using glitter cardstock and we all know that that is challenging, shall we say. And so I have a lot of double-sided tape that I'm using in this video, but please know wet glue is a really amazing choice for this. So I am just adhering them together at both of those tabs where I've added some score tape, and then I'm creating a square and I'm going to fold the little flaps so that that will fit our case. I have 2 pieces that look really similar. They're just longer, and that's going to be for the larger opening in our perfume box. Again, that larger opening, you can leave it as a larger opening. It is not quite big enough for a dollar bill. Just to give you some size, some scale on this, it's about the same size finished as a slimline card. It is about 8.5 by 3.5. Okay. So I have attached these using the 2 tabs, and then I'm folding back on the score lines all the way around because that's how this is going to fit into our case. If I were using wet glue and I were the kind of person who weren't super messy, I would have added wet glue to all of those tabs and then wiggled this into place like I just did and run my fingers along each of those tabs. But you guys, I'm a hot mess. So I'm going to do these one at a time. If you are maybe not a precision gluer, this is what I would recommend. So I've added glue and then I'm going to flip it over and make sure that this is lining up right along the edge of my case. Okay, so I'm doing it again and I'm just going to go around one at a time. So I am pressing the white glitter cardstock to the base of my table to try to get it right flush against it. And then while it's upside down, I'm running my fingers. Here we go again, right? I'm adding glue. I'm pushing the white cardstock down and I'm running my fingers along the table to try to get them as closely lined up as I can. When I flip it over, I am checking that alignment. Because I've used wet glue, I am able to wiggle it. I tried to do this once with double-sided tape. It went badly. Use wet glue, okay? The other challenge that I had on this one was that because I'm using 2 different colors of cardstock, you can really tell if they aren't lined up perfectly. If I were using navy for the inside and navy for the outside, you have more wiggle room, okay? So here I started with that inside flap because that's the hardest one and I wanted to make sure I could get to it. I added the glue before I even wiggled that square into place. And then I just stuck my bone folder in there to press firmly against it and then flipped it over to check my alignment. And I'm going to work my way around this square. Again, I'm being really careful with my glue because again, my glue dries clear, but on really dark cardstock, sometimes you can still see it. It stands out anyway. A lighter cardstock, a patterned paper, would work really well for this as well. And it gives you, I think, a little more wiggle room with your glue. So here is the back panel, okay? And I am just folding those 2 score lines and this fits beautifully. The first time I put this together, this is what I did. And so then the inside was the same color as the back panel, but I actually decided I wanted that white glitter on the inside as well. So I have added double-sided tape on each of my little flaps, okay? And I am going to use this glitter cardstock on the inside. Now, wet glue, again, would work really well, except that I'm gluing glitter cardstock to glitter cardstock, and it would take a million years to dry and hold well enough that I could continue with my box. Okay, so I added that to the back. That piece is totally optional. It is 8.5 inches by, I think 3.25 inches. I am trimming my tab only because it's glitter cardstock and it's going to get in my way later. Okay. And it's hard to adhere to it. You do not need to trim that. In fact, I would not trim that. When I go to add the back, I found it was easiest to line this up by using double-sided tape and then just a little bit of wet glue. I want the quick grab, but I want a little bit of wiggle room. So I try to line up my two corners, right? I get the one corner and I sort of secure that, and then I check the other corner, and that way I know I'm going to have a straight seam all the way across and not something real wonky, and then I press. And you saw on the first one, I had to pull it back up a little bit. That wet glue gave me the opportunity to do that. I'm adding a little bit of glue, I'm sticking my bottle in there because I didn't glue the back straight to the box. I had that extra piece of glitter cardstock. Normally, that back would already be stuck to your box because you would have glued it to the flaps. These two pieces go on the end, but you also have to pull these two doors from Perfume Case Set C and do those alongside these. Okay, I'm going to show you two ways to do this. You don't have to add the doors. That's totally optional. And especially, I want to use this case actually to make a little shadow box for my kids. I have this, I think it's called the Woodland Critters set. There's like a woodland bundle that's super cute, and I want to do that. So you can turn this into all kinds of stuff. I am adding glue along the inside of the back. And I actually put the glue underneath the glitter card because trying to glue on top of the glitter card wasn't going to work very well, right? So I'm lining up that seam. I'm adding the door before I ever add, we'll call it like the cap to the end. Got that all lined up. Now I'm going to take this cap and I'm folding all of those little pieces in, and I'm going to open up my door. Okay, you can see it's secured in there. And I am going to add glue to the inside of the box. When I tried to add it to the flaps, I made a hot gluey mess. If you're better with glue than me, you could probably add it to the flaps, but this kept it all contained inside the box. Okay, so I'm adding glue on all four sides. When you go to put this in there, you have the two short ends have longer flaps. So those are pretty easy. And then you have these little like 1/8-inch flaps on the longer ends. And I'm just trying to get it flush, but I don't want it to feel like it's dented in. So I took my pokey tool and kind of pulled it back out, but I'm constantly closing the door and checking the fit. If that cap comes too far out, the door doesn't close neatly. Okay, so this is the way that I think was easier to attach. The second way I'm going to show you on the other door, I think gave me a slightly better fit. Now I'm going to add a piece to each side, and this is just going to finish off that door. And so I'm closing the door, close it so you get everything squared up, and then I'm adding glue, and I am just going to sort of line that up on my two sides. I didn't want to wiggle it a whole bunch. I didn't want to end up with glue in places where I didn't want it. You can see I smeared glue, I think on both of them, on that side panel. It's not a huge deal because there's a decorative piece to add over top of that. I knew I was adding that, so I wasn't super careful. But if you're not going to add those decorative pieces, you could be a little daintier with it than I was. Okay, so on this side, I'm actually adding the cap first, but I only put glue on 3 sides. I did not put it on the back. Okay, so I'm adding the cap. I'm getting it right where I want it. It's a little easier to line up this way when the glue's not there yet. And then I will add glue inside the back panel and along my little flap. And I can close that door, and I'm going to line it up just perfectly. You guys, this worked so well for me, because then I know that the door is going to close as perfectly as possible. Okay, so I liked the second way better. The first way it is maybe a little easier for a beginner. There is another piece in here that creates an extra divider section. That's this guy. And he's really just a tiny little box. It's super cute. So I am adding glue. Like I have the box almost completely folded up. I like how well these are designed. So those top flaps, these long ones, they are perfect. If I just close the box completely, everything is lined up. So I don't have to worry about, well, did I close it enough? Did I close it not enough? Okay, and that will slide right inside of there. I also wanted my glitter card on this one because the other divider has it. So I am just adding these two little matching pieces to either side of that. For me, it was more important to get the fit perfect on the bottom, the piece that's going to be right against the back panel of the box. I didn't want like a little strip of blue poking through. So you can see me take the box and I'm pressing it against my work surface to make sure it's lined up towards the bottom as well as possible, right? I'm like double checking. Is that the bottom? That's the bottom. You can barely tell. When I go to add this in there, it is a little bit of a snug fit. I love that. It stands up beautifully, but I don't have to glue it in. I don't have to worry. And then I'm giving this to my sister. She's kind of fancy, right? I thought this was perfect for her. Her birthday's coming up. I want her to be able to reuse this box. And if when she gifts it to somebody else, she doesn't want that divider in there, she can pull it out. I am adding two little bitty die cuts around the holes in my doors. And I happen to have some leftover gold cardstock that already had adhesive on the back, but that's not necessary. You could totally glue those on. They line up beautifully. Here I have cut the panel, the decorative panel for the doors twice. And then I just ran that through an embossing folder. I thought this added an elegant touch. When I first kind of cut all my pieces, I had cut this decorative panel out of glitter cardstock and I went to add it and I was like, whoa, too much, Sarah. So we pulled it back. We're going for understated elegance on the outside and a glitter bomb on the inside. And so then I will add my second panel. This is Beacon 3-in-1. It's a solvent-based adhesive, so I can really shellac it on there and it's not adding any water to the paper. It's not going to warp it, which I really, really love. I'm going to use the same adhesive on the decorative panels for the side. The other thing that happens with this glue, especially because you can add so much of it, is that when it dries, it hardens and it strengthens that paper a little bit, right? I know that these doors are going to get a bit of a workout. And so I don't want to have to worry about maybe it's a little flimsy. I started with 100-pound cardstock, but anytime I have sort of a moving part, especially on a 3D project, I just like the added sort of security that I get by using a glue like this. There are also two decorative pieces for the ends, and so I will add those on as well. This is it's 8.5 inches. It's so tall that I'm trying to like show you all the pieces, but like my camera's right there. So I hope that's working for you. I'm angling it a little bit just so it's not like way zoomed in. But after I've added those two pieces, that's my box. Look how elegant that is, right? And there, I didn't have to do anything real fancy. Inside, I have the perfect amount of room for my 3 boxes. I can put goodies inside of each of these boxes. I love that this is for my sister because she always gives me fancy gifts like a face mask or a lipstick or something I didn't know I needed. So that will fit beautifully inside of these. And then here is my gold fill. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. We would love it if you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.